Hey people, what's going on? Broken Puppet, back with another video. Today I'm going to show you guys my thought process when I do a freehand tattoo. So what I've got here is a little space on my own arm. I'm not going to actually tattoo, I'm going to show you how I draw it. So I've got a space here. So you can see I've got a tattoo here, I've got a tattoo here, I've got a tattoo here. So the idea is I'm going to show you guys what I would do and how sort of, my sort of thought process and how I'd put a tattoo in this area. Now obviously you can use sort of stencils. Now sometimes when you have pre-existing tattoos, getting a stencil can be tricky to fit inside the exact gap. There are ways around it, which I will show you as well just now. So you see, you've got this rough space here. So what I'm going to initially do, using three different kind of Sharpies, I've got a pink, I've got a red and a blue. You can do it too, but I like to use three colours. And make sure you don't reuse on people. You want to make sure they're nice and clean. You just get a new one for each kind of person. So you've got the arm here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark a little space just around the tattoos, leaving a little space in between. Because the idea is I don't want to touch them, especially because I'm doing like an old school one. You can link them up. If it's like neo-traditional and stuff, you can sort of link them up, but I'm doing this as if I was doing an old school tattoo. So what I've done is I've drawn this outline. So you can see very kind of faintly around these areas. So the idea is I want a tattoo to fit inside this area. Now it has to be pre-wear as well. I have a little mold just here, a little mold just here, and one just here, which you don't want to go over. So when you're doing a tattoo, you want to make sure you avoid those areas. You don't want to touch the molds. Once you marked it out, I'm going to get a little line just down the center point where I want it. A little line come across. If you're doing a parallel design, you can put a few more. And what you can do with the shape, you can then put a bit of tracing paper on, then trace around this line you've just done here. Draw the design on paper, and once you've done that, you'll have it to fit this exact shape, and you can put a stencil on. But we're talking about freehand today. So we've got this space. So the idea is I want to make sure it fits in here. And I want to make sure it kind of takes up most of this space. I want to make sure it comes in these kind of gaps. Because if it doesn't, it kind of feels like it's on its own, it stands alone, doesn't feel like it fits right. So what I'm doing is a really basic old school rose, just to sort of start off with this one. So I'm going to start off with a circle. Let's sketch it in there roughly using the red. Very important to use the red first, don't use the blue first. The idea is you're going to go from like light to dark to sort of finish it off. Once you've got it done, I'm going to do another little circle to the inside just here. Just like that. So it's going to be the rough sort of spacing that I want the rose in. But then I've got that, I've also got these spaces around the outside. You see like here, if I just had this here, it'd feel a bit basic, so it wouldn't be nothing to kind of fill in the space. It wouldn't kind of fit right. So the idea is I now want things that kind of sort of take up its areas. With old school, one of the best ways to do it is often like leaves and stuff, and like little accessories like chains and bits, or clouds. So you see, I've got this done here, so I know I'm going to have a little line, because I want like a little leaf bit to come in this gap. I want to make sure I've got a little line where a little leaf's going to come here. And I know I want something to come down this way. I might extend and have another petal, which might come here, and then I want a leaf maybe coming down. So it's extending, so it's filling inside these gap spaces, and it's kind of fitting around this sort of shape, so it then feels part of it, because it's all kind of mixing with it. So now I've got this done, I'm going to start sort of showing the basic sort of details. So I'm going to start from the bottom here. I'm going to bring this curve line up like this, curve it around, I'll create one loop, two loop, three loop. Create another little one just here, around this way, and in the center I'm going to put a little spiral. Just come down from the corners like that, just to kind of create a center bud. Once you've got a center bud, you can kind of work off of that. So I'm going to bring another little outside petal bit just here. I'm going to create my initial bottom petal just down here. So I'm going to create this little shape, it's going to wiggle around like this. I'm going to create another one that's going to come off of here. And you see this one's going to fit behind these ones, so I'm going to create this one that's going to loop up like this. I might have one that comes in, say around here. And again, I might have one that comes up over that gap and one in that space. So we're filling up that sort of space for the rose. And now we've got that, we've got to think about the outside spaces. So in this one's a little bit shorter. So for this one, rather than making it a big bold leaf, I might make this like a little smaller one. So I'm going to create this little kind of overturned leaf like this. Just like that. So you can see it's fitting this gap nicely. So you've got this nice even space now kind of exists roughly around this space. Got this one on the outside here, so I'm going to bring this one, I'm going to curve 1, 2, 3 to create a little leaf bit just there. Go 1, 2, 3 to join up over there. Forgive us a little bit inaccurate, it's on my arm and I can't see exactly at this angle. I don't exactly have too much space on my arm and I haven't got anyone free element to do this on, so I've done it myself. Once I got down, it's going to bring this little line just come across, just like this. Just an example, I wouldn't usually do this on one if I was doing like the three kind of curves. I'd normally do like little kind of flicks, but I'm just showing you guys what you can do for these kind of ones. So you see, this one's now filling in that space, so you now got this nice kind of space. I said this little gap just here is nice and even around this space. So it's fitting in almost like a jigsaw piece puzzle, if you understand. So it's kind of fitting in there just perfect for that. Now you've got this one here now, because I've got this one going this way, I've got this one down here, it almost feels almost kind of sort of like a straight line. And I don't like that. I'm not a fan of straight lines with these kind of sort of designs. So what I'm gonna do to make this kind of right, rather than doing the one down this bit, because I want something to fill in this space, I'm gonna divide this into two. So I'm gonna have one line come this way, and one line that way. So it's gonna break up that straight hand line, which I don't want. So I'm gonna create this bottom one first just here. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 like this. And I'm gonna create this over loop, just kind of come out this way. And that space just there. And now you've got it done. I can see a little space just here again, so you can have another little leaf. You don't have to fill up every little gap. I'm just showing out because I quite like to fill these little gaps. And with like rows and stuff, you can have as many leaves as you want. You know, there's no sort of like real magic number to it. You can have as few or as many as you want. And I just got done with those little lines just like this across. Just like I've done on that other one. And then you can have one kind of it's done that gap we've done over here. Because you want a kind of bit of symmetry, like, you know, it looks quite nice like this. If I had another tattoo over here, I might avoid it. And where it sort of does touch my elbow, you know, in the future, I might have something that say fits in that space. So I draw it for now, but realistically, I might leave this space because often it's nice to have something in that specific area. It's very important to kind of keep in mind what future work you might also have in those areas and not go over any kind of key points that you might want another tattoo. So again, I'm just gonna draw this down like this. 1, 2. Forgive this inaccurate, so I can't really see at this angle. If I was doing it on someone else, it would be much more accurate. But it's just a general gist of an idea. Hoping that looks right. My little one just there to kind of fill in that gap. So I said you can add something here if you want to kind of fill in this little space, but I don't feel like it always needs it. You know, what I might have something, you know, something future that kind of exists here, and I might branch this across here to fill in this gap. You know, like you can sometimes leave gaps if you kind of feel that you might put something else in that spot. If it's going to be something that's going to be left, then you probably will want to fill it up, but just make sure you kind of keep in mind what you are going to do and what you're not going to do. And once you've got your rough design like this, and once you're sort of like happy with it and it all kind of sort of fits in exactly the kind of space you want it to, then you can come in with a blue and kind of finalize it. Now I recommend using blue, I don't recommend using black. You know, you can use purple. Now you basically just want a slight darker tone than the red. And now if it's black, it's going to make it really hard when you're actually tattooing it to try and see where you're going. Because you're going to put in a line, but you're also going to see the black, you know, Sharpie around the outside, so it's going to look part of the line. As well, if it's blue or purple, obviously you're going to be able to see the difference between the black and the blue and the purple. So you're going to see what's actually your tattooing and what's actually the stencil. So again, I'm just going to come over every now, I'm just going to sort of mark it in the way it would be. Any corrections you want to make, now's the good time to do them. You know, you want to make sure that this is as true as possible. You know, you don't want to make any adjustments really while doing the tattoo. You know, you might need to, but if you can avoid that, it's always best. A little spiral in there. And there's tons of different ways of doing rows and stuff. Now I've got loads of tutorials on these kind of things on my page. And it's just one little example. You know, if you like this and you want more detail on, say, a larger sort of freehand piece, I can do that. You know, just put in the comments below the kind of sort of thing you'd like to see me kind of freehand, and I'll also teach you that as well. And I'm thinking of doing a few sort of tattoo ones where I sort of, you know, go through like my basic kind of sort of like advice I give for like lining and shading and general sort of thought process for composition and stuff. Now again, if it's something that people want to see, then I'll do it, but just let me know if it is or not. You know, if it's got enough demand for it, I'll do it. So yeah, just let me know below if you do want that. Let's see, I've just gone over my basic kind of rows now. It's all kind of fitting there nice. Now when you're freehand, you don't necessarily have to put in where you're going to do the shading. Now you can do if you want to. If you are going to do that, I recommend using maybe little dots. It's always a good marker sort of point for it. So like here, we've got this. I know I'd want a shadow on this inside part here. You know, if I was doing it normally, I wouldn't have to put it in there because I know where I'm doing it. But just for example, if you want to sort of know where your shading is going to go, just put a little dot around the area that you know you're going to shade, like this, like little dots to make the line. And that helps you know the difference between what you're going to be lining and what you're going to be shading. So again, you can put a look around here because I know I want it there. Now, dots are a really good way of marking out where you want to do your tattoo. Or little dash lines, you can do little dash lines if you want, you know, same principle. But the idea is you just want to make sure it looks different to what your line work is, just in case you accidentally go over the wrong one by accident. You know, it's the last thing you want with a tattoo. You know, it's a very small chance you're going to do that, but it's just not worth having that sort of chance. So just make sure there's a difference between what you're going to be shading and what you're going to be lining. And also it's very important as well, try not to go too much thicker than what your actual line work's going to be when you tattoo it. You know, if you're going to go like super thin with your line work, then maybe like a thinner sort of, you know, marker pen or a thinner skin marker. And that, because the idea is sometimes if you're sort of going over your line work, say if you're doing like a really thin line over a really thick line you've drawn on, and you might start here and you might start say on the left side of this line. And as you're sort of going through, you might end up going onto the right side, the left side, and by the time you get through to it, it's going to look uneven because you basically switch sides within that line because that line is thicker than the one you're doing. So it's always best to have a thinner line than it is to have a thicker line, if you can achieve that. You know, like with this, I'll be using quite a thick liner, so it wouldn't make much difference. The Sharpie is perfectly fine for that. But yeah, if I was doing, say, like a really high detail piece, I'd be doing it as thin as possible. Or ideally, just use a stencil for those ones. You know, a stencil is always the more practical solution, but sometimes when you have like a really awkward kind of shape like this, it's just nice to freehand. You know, and don't attempt this if it's not something you feel confident with yet. If you're still very early in your career and you haven't really done it, then I recommend sort of staying away from it until you do feel confident. Or maybe just kind of freehand on yourself or your other colleagues in the meantime. You know, but yeah, it's not something you want to go into if you're not ready for it. You know, because it will really sap your confidence. You know, I've known a few people who kind of thought they're going to be ready for it and they've sort of started and it's kind of gone a bit wrong, you know, hasn't gone exactly how they planned it. And the next thing you know, it's really kind of affected emotionally and they really kind of like, yeah, just lose their confidence with it. And when you're tattooing, the last thing you want is to lose your confidence. You know, confidence is very, very big, important part of the game. Now, if you're feeling confident about a thing, you're much less likely to make mistakes. You know. But just bear in mind, I did say confident, not overconfident. You know, some people do get a bit too overconfident, too ahead of themselves, and just be aware if you are doing that. You know, it's nothing wrong with admitting that. You know, the last thing you'll do is make mistakes. But you can see, so I've got this sort of shape, and you can see exactly how it kind of fits. Everything kind of fits in nicely, like a jigsaw piece puzzle. It's kind of just slots in nicely now because it's taking up all these little gaps. You know, these little spaces. It's not touching, but it feels correct because it feels like it's slotted just in there. Everything's kind of matching up. You know, this is the key with doing a lot of old school tattoos. It's like, you know, especially on like say sleeves, it's like jigsaw piece puzzles. Just make sure everything kind of fits. You know, it's got nice even space around it. You know, it makes a lot of difference. You know, spacing is such an important part of tattooing that can easily get overlooked sometimes. But yeah, that's my sort of thought process behind doing freehand tattoos. You know, I hope that's helped you guys. Like I said, you know, if there's any others you want to see, if you want to see like a larger scale piece, if you want to see more sort of tattooing ones, you know, I'm happy to do those. So if you do want to see those, just comment below, you know, and if you're first time to my channel, make sure you click subscribe. I've got hundreds of videos to help you guys. But for now, I'm the Broken Puppet and I'll see you next time. Peace.